Rewind to 1993, the Iron Cobra came out. I was desperate to get one of these pedals. Unfortunately at the time I could never afford one. But over the years I've managed to collect a few now. You can adjust the plate angle from this screw here. And then once you've done that, you can even adjust the beater because it had the vari pitch beater. So they're fully adjustable pedals, and even by today's standards, they are seriously smooth. The twin pedal version as well, amazing. I mean, this one hasn't done many miles on it. It's more or less new old stock when I got it, but I've dialed it in and used it many times, and it's a wonderful pedal. Even with the original link arm, I know now that they have all these fancy drive shafts, which are very, very cool, and I probably will get one eventually because I'll probably be able to get this even quicker. But for now, I mean, that pedal was as good as anything I've used. I've used 9000s, 5000s, and this matches it. They obviously have their flaws, and the biggest one that's always bothered me is this hinge assembly down here. It is not the best by any means, and this pedal's done some miles, so it has worn. The design of it is basically in the heel plate here is 2 nylon bushes and just a split pin. That's all it was. Very, very simple and cheap, but that is the reason why this play occurs. I mean, this one is nowhere near as bad, but they all suffer from it. A guy recently contacted me on here. He's a really nice guy, Miross from Czech Republic. And he's done many modifications to these pedals, and he showed me a picture of his, and you can see it here. And he updated the hinges on his, and he showed me what else he's done with some bearings and stuff, and it's really cool upgrades. And a while ago I remember doing a drawing of this hinge as I wanted to upgrade one and do a test on it, and after speaking to him it just pushed me into doing it. So I've made a mechanical hinge here out of bits from the garage. And what I want to do now is actually make one properly and upgrade all these pedals here. As per this drawing you can see now, I've replaced these nylon bushes for sealed units, which you can see here. And then in between them, I've put a sleeve in there, which I'm going to make out of brass. And then I'm going to have a stainless steel shaft linking it all together. And the reason I'm using brass is because it will act as a bearing. I've tested this one and it works really well. I mean, this is an older pedal, HP 80 I think, or HP 80S, I can't remember. So it's obviously nowhere near as good as the HP 90s. But I switched these plates over with this hinge and it had no adverse effect on this whatsoever. So with this assembly, it removes pretty much all of the play. I mean, this pedal is not directly linked to a board, so there is some play anyway, but the hinge, there's certainly none of this rocking movement, and it's fairly solid. So what I'm going to do now, I've got a drawing. I'm going to go and get these parts machined up, and then we'll put a proper assembly of this into here and see what difference it makes. The only other flaw on these pedals that I've seen is if you listen to this, you can hear the shaft moving, and the problem is the bearings in here are not a tight fit. It's not a push fit tolerance, so there is some play on the bearing in this housing. And what's happening is that shaft is actually being pulled by the spring in this direction, so it's under tension, and that noise is the spring pulling it back. So what I'm going to look at, as Miross did, is putting double bearings in here and also drilling out this post. I've done it on this one. You can see I've actually drilled it out, and it's drilled both sides. And it means you can pinch the bearing down and eliminate this play. And I think that'd be well worth doing. I mean, it's smooth regardless, but I think any improvements are worth it. So here's the garage bearing assembly. Like I say, the sleeves are stainless steel, so I'm going to swap them for brass. And here is the heel plate that was drilled out that accepts the flange bearings. And there's our bearing assembly. Here you can see the shaft and it's still parallel with the heel plate. There's the hinge assembly and it's absolutely rigid. There is no movement in there at all. And it's free to move. There's no resistance. So I think that's a really good modification. I've noticed a slight bow in the base plate. It's not a great deal, as you can see at the end there. So I'm going to straighten that up, clean it up, and get a bit of spray on there and get rid of all the scratches. Then I'll strip the main body apart, clean all that up, and then we'll reassemble the whole pedal and see what we've got. The body's apart now, and you can see here with the bearing and this grub screw that holds that assembly in. There's actually a spacer that the grub screw lands on. But what I'm going to try and do is swap the space around and actually just very lightly pinch the bearing, re-drill this side and pinch the bearing too, and I think that'll eliminate any of the slop in the shaft. So we want an M4 tapped hole in here, the same as this side. Now we have the grub screws in both pillars. So here's the pedal all assembled. The hinge looks absolutely fantastic. You can see the brass in there. There is literally no movement whatsoever. It is absolutely solid. What I did not double up the bearings. All I did was switch the spacer and the bearing round on this side. So I've just very lightly pinched the bearing here, and from drilling this hole and pinching the bearing here, it's actually eliminated all of that rocking. It's now lovely and clean. Looks brand new, and I'm happy to put these mods onto all my other pedals. So here's my two single pedals. This one has had the updated hinge in it. This one is not touched. So you can see there that the amount of play in this is a lot, you know. And this one, it is rigid. You cannot move it. So I'm really chuffed with that. That's worked really, really well. Also, the shaft in this one you can hear. And this one, again, it's rigid. And in terms of performance, it's lost nothing.